Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope all of you are doing well. Eh, Give me a minute, guys, as I set up my device. So, how is everybody here? One second. Okay, and my device is all set up, so that should not be an issue. And let's see who all have joined us so far. Okay, one second, guys. Okay. Okay, let me see. We're at 150 people right now, so I'm assuming that in the next 10 minutes I'll get 100 more people or so. Right, let me just put this on mute. Okay, that should be fine. That should be fine, I think. Okay. Okay, good morning. Let me just see. Good morning, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Vijayalakshmi, yes, yesterday's notes have been uploaded in the drive. Okay, I just uploaded them half an hour ago or so, so all of you can go through those notes, right? And yeah, so I've uploaded those notes. So you didn't get it. I just uploaded them half an hour ago, beta. So they should be there in the drive. You can see it in the drive. I uploaded those notes half an hour ago. Okay, so how's everybody? Kaise yaar? Let's just have a conversation for 5 minutes and then we'll start the class. Okay, what about me? I'm also fine here. Most probably, I think I'll be back. I'll be back in Hubli by most probably, I'm thinking June. I think in June, first week, I'll be back. Again, probably 10 days or so, I should be back in Hubli. Yeah, so everything is fine on that end, right? And what about you guys? You guys are awesome. Okay, that's great to hear. Yeah, you guys are awesome. So what are you guys doing? When is the college going to start? I don't know, yeah. If I have to take a guess, I would probably say August. I'd probably say August. Your colleges will start. Exactly when I can't say. Maybe August they will start, right? So definitely, I think in your PU board exam syllabus will be reduced. I can't say the same about NEET, right? But in your PU board exam, I think most probably the syllabus will be reduced. Some chapters will be weeded out. Which chapters will be weeded out? I'm not sure. No, Rahul. Saturday, you guys have a doubt solving session. I was not aware. I'll look into the schedule. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, so I hope that all of you know, or all of you are aware that 31st May is your MT6. Please prepare well for it, yeah. Okay. Do not repeat the same performance that you guys did in MT5. Will the duration of months increase? What do you mean by that, Ravi? Will the duration of months increase? What do you mean by that? Okay, any other question from anybody else? It could be anything here. You can ask me something about myself also. Otherwise, I'll start the class. No, these classes won't repeat. Yeah, these classes won't repeat. Okay, okay. Then that's different here. All that's different. Okay. Uh, Harshvardhan, that's secret here. Okay. Thank you very much, Pranav. As always, I never miss you. Okay. Anything else? Shall take. I'm not sure, Sukanya. I'm not sure what all chapters will be removed, but certain chapters will be removed. I think at least that's what I've been hearing. No, Rohan, these classes won't repeat. These classes won't repeat in your college, right? So this is part of your curriculum. So that is why you're supposed to attend right now. Okay. Any other question? आगे बढ़े फिर? No, Shashwat, the answer to that question is no. Okay. Anything else? Chalo yaar. Let's start the lecture then. No, Shreya, I'll be teaching the next chapter also. I'll be teaching the next chapter also. Sure. So we are doing sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Today is lecture 5. Okay, I think after today's class, I'll be needing maybe 2 to 3 more lectures to wrap up this chapter. Rohan, that is their loss, yeah, that is their loss. Okay, so some students, if they are not attending, that is their personal choice, right? Because at least, your board class might happen, but these NEET classes won't be repeated again. So your boards classes will happen definitely, in which all these chapters will be covered, but these NEET classes won't be repeated. So if certain students are not attending, that's their loss here. Will NEET exam be postponed next year? Most probably not. Most probably not. Maybe by few weeks, but not more than 2 to 3 weeks. Right? Okay. So we are doing sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Today is lecture 5. I would probably need 8 lectures to finish up this chapter. Okay, and then maybe 1 or 2 problem solving sessions. Okay. So I will conduct problem solving sessions for the first chapter and the second chapter after your MT6. Right now, I want you guys to be focused completely on MT6. So I won't be discussing problems of the first 2 chapters, that is sexual reproduction in organism, that is reproduction in organisms, and sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay, I won't be solving these problems until you guys are done with your MT6. As soon as you guys are done with your MT6, then I'll start with problem solving session of both these chapters. Okay, chalo. So let's get into it. So let's do a brief recap. So in yesterday's class, our main focus was development of the embryo sac, right? Development of the embryo sac, that was our main focus. And after that, one second. No, Anushri, this chapter will not finish today, beta. As I said, I would need 3 more lectures after this one. I would need 3 more lectures after this one. Just give me a second. I would need 3 more lectures after today's lecture to wrap up this chapter. So no, the chapter won't finish today. Okay, so in yesterday's class, we talked about, basically we did a brief recap of embryo sac, then we talked about your cross pollination, right? We started with your cross pollination, that is xenogamy. Then we talked about different types of cross pollination. We talked about anemophily, what are the characteristics of an anemophilous plant. Then we talked about hydrophily, what are the characteristics of a hydrophilous plant or a hydrophilous flower. Then we talked about zoophily, what is zoophily. Then we specifically talked about pollination by insects, which is known as entomophily, and what are the characteristics of an entomophilous flower. Then we talked about other types of organisms that take part in cross pollination and what are the names for that, right? So for example, for bats, we have chiropterophily, for snails, we have malacophily, for birds, we have ornithophily. And then we finished off the class by talking about your outbreeding devices that are developed by your plants to ensure that cross pollination take place. Okay. MT6 bio portion, beta, MT6 bio portion is complete biology of 11th standard. Okay. No, Prakriti, beetles are type of insect, so they fall under entomophily. Okay, ठीक है, चलो, so आगे बढ़े फिर. Okay, couple of recap questions. The first question is on your screen. The first question is on your screen. So the question is, in the given diagram, shows 2 plants of same species. Identify the time of pollination indicated as P1, P2, and P3. Okay, you have to identify what is P1. You have to identify what is P2. You have to identify what is P3. Okay, that is what the question is. 4 options are on your screen. I'll give you guys 30 seconds to think what the answer might be. So Shashwat, there is no chapter-wise weightage as far as I remember, but the second PO portion carries more weightage in CET than first year. You want to zoom it? Beta zoom क्या करना है यार? ये लो यार zoom कर दिया. ठीक है? 15 seconds and I'll throw up the poll. 15 seconds and I'll throw up the poll. Okay, start करें फिर. चलो. Let me throw up the poll, beta. Just get your answers in as quickly as possible. Okay. Boom. The poll is now live on your screen. Get your votes in. Get your votes in. Okay. 40% of people have voted so far. Better get your votes in. Yeah, get your votes in. किस बात का दे रहे? It's not that difficult question. कल का class अगर ध्यान से सुना होगा आ जाएगा. In fact, last two classes, if you guys have listened to the last two classes carefully, this question is a piece of cake. This question is a piece of cake. Okay, Basu, it's okay. Basu, एक बार दे दो यार. इतना धड़ाधड़ मत type करो. It starts distracting me and irritating me if you keep on texting. Okay, so 5 seconds and I'll close the poll. 57% of you voted. What happened, beta? NEET का exam थोड़ी ना है that there will be negative marking. Get your votes in. What is scaring you? Okay, ठीक है. 3, 2, 1, and I'll stop. Okay, so 70% of you have voted. A very disappointing number. Okay, so according to 67% of you, sees the correct option. According to 67% of you sees the correct option, and let's see whether the 67% of you are correct or not. So if you look at P1, in P1, if you look at it, in P1, the pollen grains are being transferred within the same flower. So that is what self-pollination. And in the self-pollination, there were two types of category: autogamy and geitonogamy. So when the stigma and the style belong to the same, right? When the male part and the female reproductive part belong to the same, then it is known as autogamy. So P1 is your autogamy. Now, if you look at in P2, it is being transferred to different flower but on the same plant. If it is being transferred to a different flower but on the same plant, and that is geitonogamy. And that is what geitonogamy. So P2 is geitonogamy, and P3, you are transferring the pollen grains to a different plant itself. So that is known as cross-pollination. What is the other name for cross-pollination? It is xenogamy. So the correct option is what? The correct option is option C. So 67% of you who went with option C are absolutely correct. Abhishek, in the timetable yesterday there was a class. So from now onwards you will have 4 days a week classes. Okay, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay, chalo. Let's move to the next question then. Flowers which have single ovule in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence are usually pollinated by. Okay, so the traits that are given here, that is, flowers are packed into inflorescence. This is the first trait. And single ovule in the ovary. These are traits of which one of the following types of flowers, or these flowers undergo which type of pollination? They use which agent? Okay. I'll relaunch the poll then. Boom, the poll is now live on your screen. Get your votes in, guys. Get your votes in. Okay, get your votes in. So 50% of you have voted in. Okay, I want the other people to also take part. Let's see. Okay, 60% of you have voted. Please get your votes in, guys. घबराने की क्या बात है? Simple सा question है यार. If you have listened to yesterday's class very carefully, this question will be a piece of cake for you. Okay? Okay, chalo. So I'll close the poll in 5 seconds. Get your votes in, guys. Okay. 3, 2, 1, and I'll stop. Okay, a very close fight between A and B. A won just by 2 votes. So what is the A option? A option is B, and unfortunately that is the wrong option. The correct option is option B. If you remember yesterday's class, when I was talking about anemophilous flower, the last property of anemophilous flower that I mentioned was that the flowers are packed in close inflorescence and they have a single ovule in each ovary. So the correct option here is B, wind. Okay, some of you might have confused. Some of you might have confused because I mentioned that in entomophily also, right? That if the flowers are inconspicuous, then they stick together to become one big conspicuous bouquet, you can say. But I never mentioned that. The ovary contains a single ovule when I was talking about entomology. So, entomophily. So the correct option here is B, wind. This question was asked in NEET 2017. Okay, so if this question is asked again, more than half of you will get it wrong. Okay, only 40% of you give the correct answer. Dekho, this question was made directly out of a line given in the textbook. In your textbook, there is a line straight up given that in wind pollinated plants, the inflorescence is closed, okay, and then or packed inflorescence is there, and each ovary contains a single ovule. And I picked that line straight from the textbook, or मैंने अपने notes में भी डाला था. And straight from there a question was asked. Okay, and then you'll be like, sir, ये question कहाँ से आया? आपने तो बताया ही नहीं था. Right? If you are paying attention in the class, half of the problems will be piece of cake for you. Okay, because I pick my statements right from the textbook, and in NEET, 90% of the questions, or more than 90% of the questions, will be from your textbook. Okay, so make sure that you study the textbook thoroughly. Okay, chicken. So that gave me a very good idea that only 40% of you got this correct. So if you guys would have written the NEET exam in 2017, only 40% of you would have got this correct. Anyway, chalo, let's move forward then. So today what we are going to do, so in yesterday's class we talked about all the different methods of cross pollination. Today we'll be starting with what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of cross pollination, and then what happens after pollination? Fertilization. Today we'll be talking about fertilization primarily, and if we get time, which I never get in your class for one reason or the other, then I'll start with endosperm also. Okay, chalo. So let's start with today's class. So as I said, today we'll be starting with your advantages and disadvantages of your cross pollination. Those of you who are focused on boards primarily, you can write down all these advantages and disadvantages as it is. Okay, and those of you are focusing on NEET, it's also important from you, because they can ask you which one of the following is not a disadvantage of cross pollination, or which of the following is not an advantage of cross pollination. So important for all the kind of people. Anyway, so what are the advantages of cross pollination? First one, the most obvious one, introduces genetic recombinations and hence variation. Since two parents are involved, give me a second. Thank you very much, Sana. Since two parents are involved, therefore there will be genetic recombination and more variation will be produced. Okay, then new and more useful varieties can be produced. New and more useful varieties can be produced, right? You have a drought resistant plant, you have a disease resistant plant. You do cross pollination, maybe you'll end up with a plant that is both drought resistant as well as disease resistant. So new varieties can be produced. Now, cross-pollination increases the adaptability of the offspring towards changes in the environment. Obviously, one of the key features of introducing variation is that you become much more adaptable to the environment around you. And if there are any drastic changes in the environment around you, you might have some variation which would help you in surviving those adverse conditions. Okay, so those are the three main advantages of cross-pollination. Now, what are the disadvantages? Plants have to produce a large number of pollen grains. Obviously, since they have to be transferred from one plant to another, okay, there will be loss of pollen grains along the transfer. So they have to produce a large number of pollen grains, and obviously producing such large number of pollen grains would require a large amount of energy. So that is one of the disadvantages. Now, some undesirable characters may creep in the race. That is also true. Now, let's say when I'm cross-pollinating a drought-resistant plant with a disease-resistant plant. Let's say the drought-resistant plant has that benefit that it is drought-resistant. But let's say if it has some defect also, that it has a short lifespan. And now if I cross-pollinate, जो मेरा disease-resistant plant था, the short lifespan trait might be introduced in that plant also. So some undesirable characters may creep in the race. You cannot control, So if you are cross-pollinating, you cannot control that only good qualities should be transferred, bad qualities नहीं. The bad qualities are equally as likely to be transferred as the good qualities. So some undesirable characters may creep in the race. And a factor of chance is always involved in the cross pollination, right? There's always a chance factor here. If you're depending on insects, now sir, what will happen if suddenly, because of some reason beyond the plant's control, the insects suddenly vanish? Then बेचारा plant तो फंस गया, because it depends on insects for cross pollination. Now let's say a plant depends on bats for cross pollination. Now let's say human hunt down all the bats in a particular area because humans are pissed at the fact that bats are responsible for coronavirus. So now plants in that plants in that area will not be able to cross pollinate. So that is the third point there, that a factor of chance is always involved in cross pollination. Okay. Okay. So are the advantages and disadvantages of cross pollination clear to everybody? Are the advantages and disadvantages of cross pollination clear to everybody? Okay. आगे बढ़े. Simple था. There was nothing complicated there. Okay. चलो. So I'll move forward then. Pollination हो गया. Doesn't matter whether it's self pollination or cross pollination. What happens at the end of pollination? The pollen lands on the pistil. The pollen lands on the pistil. And now fertilization has to take place. But before fertilization has to take place, pistil checks whether the pollen grain that has landed is the correct one or not. What if the pistil belongs to mango and the pollen belongs to apple? The fertilization nahi ho sakta. So how is that checked? That is checked by the pollen pistil interaction. That is checked by the pollen pistil interaction. So what is pollen pistil interaction? So pollen pistil interaction is the group of events that occur from the time of pollen deposition over the stigma to the time of pollen tube entry into the ovule. So those of you who are focused on boards, make sure that you remember the definition. So what is pollen pistil interaction? So pollen pistil interaction is the group of events that occur from the time of pollen deposition on the stigma to the time of pollen tube entry. So once the pollen grain has landed, till the pollen tube is being produced, the sequence of events are known as pollen pistil interaction. So Aishwarya is asking which one is more beneficial? Which one is more beneficial? Right? Whether it is cross-pollination or self-pollination, whether it is cross-pollination or self-pollination, both of them have their own advantages and disadvantages. Both of them have their own advantages and disadvantages, right? Self-pollination allows you to preserve certain characteristics, but there is drawback also. There is drawback that, no new characters are introduced. Now in cross-pollination, new characters are introduced, but some undesirable characters might also creep in. So both of them have their own drawbacks and benefits. So we cannot say it definitely. Anyway, what will happen if two different pollen grains, okay, pollen grain and stigma are forcefully? Beta, let's say if you put pollen grain of mango on the stigma of apple, no reaction will take place. No reaction will take place. Fertilization will not happen. Why will it not happen? Because of pollen pistil interaction. That is what the function of pollen pistil interaction is, to check ye sahi jodidar hai ki nahi. Okay, to check whether this key will unlock the lock or not. Okay, so it has checks at several places for promotion or inhibition of pollen growth. So it has, Dhanush, you cannot, beta, you cannot. So it has checks at several places for promotion or inhibition of pollen grain. It has checks at several places. Okay, so there are multiple checks. Okay, just like if you go through a flight, there are multiple checks. When you are about to enter an airport, what do they do? They check your ID card. Then you have to submit your luggage, and then what you have to do, you have to go for security clearance, where they check your bag, right? And they check you whether you are carrying any harmful material. So there are different checks. Similarly, there are different checks in the pollen pistil interaction, which are there to ensure that the pollen that has fallen is of the right type or not. Okay, so it is a safety measure to ensure that illegitimate crossings do not occur. What do I mean by illegitimate crossing? Illegitimate crossing means what? crossings that are not we are illegitimate. So crossings that are not valid, right? So the pollen grain should belong to the same species. Pollen grains should belong to the same species. Ravi, you cannot directly inject into the ovule. Okay, so pollen pistil interaction ensures that invalid or illegal crossings do not take place. So the pollen grain that has fallen belongs to the same species or not. Okay. Okay, Vedant, I'm failing to understand what you're trying to get across. So, what is pollen pistil interaction, beta? Pollen pistil interaction is a group of events that occur, okay, from the time a pollen falls into a stigma till the pollen tube comes out. Beta, second point, Shashwat, kuch nahi. Second point means that there are several checks. Level ye cheez check ho gaya, okay, go to level 2. Level 2 is check, go to level 3. So that is what there are multiple checks to determine should pollen tube be allowed or not. Okay, chalo. Let's move to the next one. Now, pollen grains of a number of plants may settle over stigma. Obviously, since the stigma is exposed, pollen grains of a number of plants may settle over the stigma. Okay, since the stigma is exposed, key species ke pollen grains will come and fall into it, right? If it's a mango flower, then on the stigma of the mango, wheat ka pollen grain aake gir jayega, apple pollen grain might fall, guava pollen grain might fall, right? So a number of pollen grains of a different plant can settle over a stigma. But the last point kya hai? Last point of the previous slide kya tha? Kuch bhi nahi tha yaar. Illegitimate crossing. Pollen pistil interaction ensures that the pollen grain belongs to the same species. Invalid, illegal crossings nahi hone chahiye. That is what the last point means. Okay? Okay. Now, only the right pollen belonging to same species would germinate, while others will fail to do so. So in pollen pistil interaction, what happens is only the pollen grain belonging to the same species would germinate. Others would not. So the pollen grain has to belong to the same species, not only same genus, same species to germinate. Okay? Yes, Chetan, I'll be talking about all that at the end. Now, compatibility and incompatibility of the pollen pistil is determined by special proteins. So there are special proteins present in the stigma which determine whether the pollen grain is of the same species or not. Okay, what are the proteins? What are those genes? That is beyond the scope of your syllabus, and they will never be asked in the NEET. So there's no point getting into that. Okay, Pritish, let me know your doubt. I'll let you know. Okay. If unmateable pollen lands on stigma, will that specific stigma be available in further? Yes, it will be. Like stigma is this big. Yahan pe aake ek apple ka gir gaya, but it needs a mango pollen grain. Then it does not matter, yaar. It will just dust it off. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kirtan. So you want me to explain the first point again? So beta, first point kya bol raha hai yaar? This is your stigma. Okay, let's say this is a stigma of the mango. It is exposed. Ab ye to hai nahi, you know that since millions of types of pollen grains are there in the air. So obviously some of them will come and land on it. हो सकता है एक apple का pollen grain गिर जाए, हो सकता है एक wheat का pollen grain गिर जाए. Maybe a pollen grain from guava will fall onto it. Right, so that is what the first point is trying to say. Pritesh, the mechanism is very complex here. Okay, I cannot get into it here because it will unnecessarily sidetrack you guys, and that will never be asked. Okay, so that is what the first point is trying to say. That pollen grains of many number of different plants can fall onto a stigma. Okay, and only the right pollen grain which belongs to the same species will germinate. So only when a mango pollen grain will fall onto this, that pollen grain will germinate and will produce a pollen tube. Okay, and that the third point is saying that this decision that I will not allow apple, I will not allow wheat, I will not allow guava pollen grains to grow, but I will allow mango pollen grains to grow, that decision is taken by certain special proteins which are present in the plant to determine whether this belongs to the same species or not. Okay? Okay. Chetan, let's not get sidetracked. Abhi ke liye nahi. वो सब में, what are the different techniques? I'll come into that later. Okay. Vijay Lakshmi, there are special types of protein, S1 protein, S2 proteins, and all that stuff, which determines compatibility and incompatibility beyond the scope of the syllabus. Okay. As much as I would like to get into it, I cannot, because I'll be wasting a lot of time. Plus, that will never be asked in the exam. So just know that there are special types of proteins that determine the compatibility and the incompatibility. Okay. Chalo, let's move forward then. Now, what happens once a compatible pollen grain has fallen? What happens when the pollen grain, okay, what happens once the pollen grain has been determined to be belonging of the same species? Shreya, as I said that, what is the mechanism? What is the mechanism of protein determining whether it is of the correct species or not? That is beyond the scope of the syllabus, beta. It is very complex. Okay, for that you guys need to know translation, transcription, and all that stuff, right? Which you guys do not know yet. Plus, on top of that, it would require knowledge of certain kinds of genes and proteins which are specific to plants. Okay, so अगर मैं वो सब पढ़ाने बैठ गया बेटा, उसमें मुझे एक हफ्ता separate चाहिए. Okay, okay. What is compatibility? Beta, compatibility means what? What should I say? You know. अब यार कैसे simple terms में explain को? Compatibility means to you know, be compatible with someone. वो बोलते हैं ना कि you know, if I have to explain it in a phrase, you know, उन दोनों की जोड़ी बहुत सही लगती है. They're compatible with each other, right? Where there is mutual understanding, as Pritish has correctly pointed out, right? So in terms of relationship, compatibility means that there is mutual understanding, right? You guys understand each other's emotions, each other's feeling. So then you say that, you know, I'm compatible with that person. So similarly, kya to baat hai? Okay, so similarly, Kirtan, you always come back to Kabir Singh man. So yes, as Abhishek pointed out, Type C charger to a Type C mobile. Okay, very good. Yeah, you guys are awesome at this. Okay, so what does compatibility mean? Compatibility means to understand something to be fit for someone. So when I say compatible, that means it completely fits it. Okay, so once a compatible pollen grain has fallen, then what happens is, following compatible pollination, the pollen grain germinates on the stigma to produce a pollen tube through one of the germ pores. You know that in germ pores, the exine is very thin, or in some cases absent also. And germ pores is the place where the pollen tube originates from. And once a compatible pollen grain has fallen, then pollen tube will germinate. Okay? Now, if you remember that in some cases, the pollen grains, when they are released in 2-celled stage, while in some cases they are released in 3-celled stage, right? So, in some plants, pollen grains are shed at 2-celled condition. There is a vegetative cell and there is a generative cell, right? This is your generative cell. This is your vegetative cell. Yaad hai? Function of generative cell is to support the function of the vegetative cell is to support the generative cell. So 60% of the plants release their pollen grain in the 2-celled stage. 40% of the plant release their pollen grain in the 3-celled stage, and in those 3-celled pollen grains, male gametes have already been formed. But in 2-celled pollen grains, male gametes have not yet been formed. Okay? So what happens in 2-celled pollen grains? In such plants, the generative cell divides and forms the 2 male gametes during the growth of pollen tube. So what happens in those 2-celled pollen grains? What happens in 2-celled pollen grains is that the generative cell divides and gives rise to 2 male gametes while the pollen tube is growing. Okay? Is this particular slide clear to everybody? Beta, give me a yes or no. Is this particular slide clear to everybody? आगे बढ़े फिर. ठीक है? Abhishek, you want me to explain once again? देखो बेटा, it's all based on previous knowledge. यहाँ पे मैंने कुछ नया तो बोला ही नहीं है. यहाँ पे I did not say anything new. Once the pollen grain is right, then there will be formation of pollen tube from one of these germ pores. Right? That is what the function of germ pore is. Germ pores are the places from where your pollen tube originates. From where your pollen tube originates. Okay. Now, what happens is in 60% of the plants, the pollen grain contains only two cells. This is such a pollen grain in which there are only two cells. There is a vegetative cell and there is a generative cell. The bigger cell is vegetative, the smaller cell is generative. So since this pollen grain contains of two cells, so this is known as two-celled pollen grain. So in two-celled pollen grain, what happens is that when the pollen tube is growing, when the pollen tube starts coming out from here, then what happens is this generative cell divides into two male gametes. This generative cell divides into two male gametes, and this is now known as a three-celled pollen grain. Okay. Now I hope this is clear to everybody. Sure. Let's move forward then. What happens is the contents of the pollen grain move into the pollen tube. The content of the pollen grain move into the pollen tube. The content of the pollen grain move into the pollen tube. Okay. So once a pollen grain has found its compatibility, it will give rise to your pollen tube and the two male gametes. And the two male gametes will now move into your pollen tube. Your two male gametes will now move into the pollen tube. Okay? Pollen tube grows through the tissues of the stigma and style and reaches the ovary. Obviously, as you can look in the figure, the pollen tube is going through the pollen tube is growing through the stigma and the style. This is your stigma and this is your style. So the pollen tube passes through your stigma and the style. Now, pollen tube after reaching the ovary enters the ovule through the micropyle and then enters one of the synergids through the filiform apparatus, right? If you remember, I told that what is the function of filiform apparatus? The function of filiform apparatus is to guide the pollen tube once it has entered the ovary. So what happens is once the pollen tube has entered the ovary, it will enter through the micropylar end. It will enter through the micropylar end, and the filiform apparatus present in the synergid cells, which are also known as helper cells, help in guiding the pollen tube towards the egg. Okay. Now, filiform apparatus of the synergid guide the entry of the pollen tube. Yaad rakhna isko. Synergids are known as helper cells. They contain filiform apparatus and they help in guiding the pollen tube into the ovule. Okay. Is this clear to everybody? Beta, give me a yes or no so that I can move forward. Is this clear to everybody? Okay. Aage badhe fir. Chalo. So what does this? You want to repeat the third point again? Beta, third point kuch nahi bol raha. Third point kya bol raha hai yaar? Dekho na. After reaching the ovary, okay, pollen tube enters the ovule. Dekho, this is your ovary. It has now reached the ovary. It has now reached the ovary. So now what will it do? This is your ovule or your female gametophyte. So now in this, your pollen tube will enter. In this, your pollen tube will enter with the help of synergids. Okay, these two cells that are present next to the egg, these are known as synergids. And synergids contain filiform apparatus, which help in guiding the pollen tube towards the egg. That is what the third point means. Okay, I hope it is clear to you, guys. Okay, sure. So now let's move forward. Sorry about that. So if you want, actually you can observe pollen tube growth under a microscope also. How can you observe? So pollen growth can be observed by dusting pollen on a drop of 10% sugar solution. On a drop of 10% sugar solution. Okay, you can take pollen grain of any of these plants and then you can put it on a slide, and then put few drops of 10% sugar solution, and then you will see pollen growth. And this is what it will look like under a microscope. Okay, so within 15 to 30 minutes, pollen tubes will be observed to come out of the pollen grains. So if they ask you how can the pollen growth can be observed, so you can say that pollen growth can be observed by dusting the pollen grain on a solution, on a drop of 10% sugar solution. Okay, so the sugar solution provides it with nourishment, because of which the pollen grain will put out a pollen tube, and you can observe pollen tube growth. Okay, so this question has been asked before also, right? In order to observe pollen growth, where would you put your pollen grain? In which of the following solution would you put your pollen grain? Okay, so there was 10% sugar solution, there was like 10% some protein solution, stuff like that. So you should know, you should put it in a drop of 10% sugar solution if you want to observe pollen growth. Okay, nothing complicated here. Chalo, let's move forward then, beta. Now, pollen tube has now reached the ovule. Pollen tube has now reached the ovule, and we know that pollen tube carries what? Pollen tube carries the male gametes, and obviously now the male gametes and the female gametes, unka sangam hoga, they will now fuse, and that is what is known as, that process is known as fertilization. So what is fertilization? Fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. Fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. Okay, okay. Now, this, in seed plants, the male gametes are brought to the egg containing female gametophyte by a pollen tube. Okay, so pollen tube brings the male gametes to the female gamete. Okay, that is what the second point is saying. That is what the second point is saying. The phenomena is known as siphonogamy. So the phenomena of pollen tube bringing the male gametes from the pollen grain to the egg is known as siphonogamy. Okay. So what is fertilization? Fertilization is the fusion of the male and female gametes, and the male gametes are carried to the female gamete by pollen tube, and this process is known as siphonogamy, or this phenomena is known as siphonogamy. Sabko clear hua beta? Give me a yes or no. Is this clear to everybody? Give me a yes or no. Is this clear to everybody? Give me a yes or no beta. Chetan, so here I am talking about male gametes coming from pollen grain to your egg. Pollen grains are transferred by agents. But male gametes from pollen grains to egg are transferred by pollen tube. Okay? So let's move forward then. Now, very important, remember, pollen grain does not pass down the stigma, only its pollen tube does. The pollen grain never enters the stigma. Only the pollen tube enters the stigma. Now, the pollen tube eats its way through the solid part of the stigma and style by secreting pectinases and hydrolytic enzymes. So how does pollen tube move down the style? By releasing pectinases and hydrolytic enzymes. We know that what will pectinases will do? Pectinases will degrade pectin, which is a crucial component of plant cell wall. So pollen tube releases pectinases and other hydrolytic enzymes which degrade the stigma at the point where it is extending. Okay? Now, sorry about this. So pollen tube travels intercellularly and chemotrophically along the concentration gradient of calcium boron inositol sugar complex. Okay? So multiple complicated terms here. Pollen tube travels intercellularly means what? Through the cells, between the cells. Okay, that is what it means. Pollen tube travels intercellularly. Cells ko faarte hue the pollen tubes move through this cell. Chemotrophically means what? How many of you know what is chemotroph? Give me a yes or no. Maybe from your 10th standard you might remember where you studied phototrophic, geotrophic, hydrotrophic. So how many of you know what are chemotrophic? How many of you know? Chetna, would you like to tell me what is chemotrophic? You have raised your hand. Would you like to speak? Okay, so Chetna was the first one. Let's see what Chetna has to say. Okay, Chetna, what is chemotrophic, beta?
Yes, sir, I can hear. Chemotrophic means it is the movement of a pollen tube towards the chemical, that is ovule.
Okay, so chemotroph means in general chemotrophic. One second. Okay, yeah. In general, chemotroph means movement of a plant body in response to the gradient of a particular chemical, in response to a gradient of a particular chemical. So if the concentration of the chemical is more on this side, the part of the plant will go towards that side. So that is known as chemotrophic. Okay, trophy means love, chemo means chemical. So movement of plant towards a particular chemical, or movement of part of a plant towards a particular chemical, that is known as chemotrophic. Okay, so what are the substances towards which pollen tube is attracted? The pollen tube is attracted towards the concentration of calcium, boron, and inositol sugar complex. Okay, so inositol is a type of sugar. Just like you have glucose, okay, inositol is a sugar complex. Okay, so just remember that inositol is a sugar complex. Okay, it is a form of carbohydrate. So if they ask you, what does the pollen tube move towards? The pollen tube moves towards the concentration gradient of calcium, boron, and inositol sugar complex. Okay, last point, Dhanush, you want me to explain the last point again? What does the last point say? The last point says that the pollen tube travels intercellularly. Intercellularly means what? Through the cells, between the cells. Okay, it moves the cell to the side and it moves through them. Okay, and chemotrophically towards these substances. Chemotrophically towards these substances. That is, so the concentration of calcium, boron, and inositol sugar complex is higher in the ovary. So the pollen tube moves towards the ovary because it is attracted to these chemicals. That is what the last point means. I hope that this slide is clear to everybody. Beta, give me a yes or no if this slide is clear to you guys. ये slide सबको समझा क्या? ठीक है, आगे बढ़े फिर. Shall we move forward then? Okay, 1 second. Chalo, let's move forward then. Okay, now the initial growth of pollen tube takes place on expenditure of food present in pollen grain. Where is food present in pollen grain? Who will tell me? Where is food present in pollen grain here? Who will tell me where is food present in pollen grain? Who would like to volunteer to tell me where is food present in pollen grain? Okay, you can raise your hand. I will give you a chance to speak. Where do you guys think? Where do you guys think is the food present in pollen grain? Anybody who would like to volunteer and tell me the answer? Anybody who would like to volunteer? Nobody has raised their hand? Why here? Okay, Kishore has raised his hand. Kishore has raised his hand. Chal, let's go to Kishore. Yes, Kishore. Kishore, am I audible? Kishore. Okay. Yes, Kishore.
Sir, in vegetative cell, food present.
Okay, very good, Kishore. So as Kishore said that in the pollen grain, the reserve food material are present in the vegetative cell. A lot of you, okay, lot of you have said tapetum and all that. Beta, tapetum hota hai male gametophyte में. Male gametophyte वो तो कब का पीछे छूट गया. Pollen grain का तो विदाई भी हो गया यार, उसकी डोली उठ गई. Now we are in male gametophyte. Why are you guys mentioning tapetum? Tapetum is present in male gametophyte यार. Male gametophyte तो हम कब का पीछे छोड़ा है. Now we are, pollen grain has now moved to a new territory. Why are you guys saying tapetum layer? That was very disappointing. Okay, tapetum provides nourishment while male gametes are being formed. Okay, so within the pollen grain, there is a vegetative cell, there is a generative cell. Generative cell gives rise to your male gametes. Vegetative cell gives rise to, so vegetative cell is responsible for providing the nourishment. So the initial growth of the pollen tube is because of using the reserve food material present in the vegetative cell. Now, for further growth, the pollen tube obtains its nourishment from the interior of stigma and style. Okay, so once it has achieved sufficient length, then it starts utilizing the nourishment from the surrounding cells of the stigma and style for nourishment. So what did we learn in this particular slide? We learned that initially the pollen tube depends on the reserve food material present in the pollen grain. And then once sufficient length has been reached, then it utilizes the chemicals, then it utilizes the food material from the surrounding cells of stigma and style. Then it utilizes the food material from the surrounding stigma and style for its growth. So यहाँ से trick question कैसे आ सकता है? Okay, so they could give you a trick question. They could give you a trick question. What would you observe, right? What would you observe in the process of fertilization if the vegetative cell is absent? So they can give you multiple options. They can give you, let's say they can give you that the pollen tube growth will not take place. They can give you that fertilization will take place as usual. Okay, pollination will not take place. They can give you one option, then they can give you none of these. So there the correct option is that the pollen tube growth will not take place, because the pollen tube growth depends on the reserve food material in the vegetative cell. So if there is no vegetative cell, there will be no initial pollen growth. So ऐसे घुमा के भी question आ सकता है और फिर आप बोलोगे सर ये तो टेक्स्ट बुक में कहीं दिया ही नहीं है. So whatever you are learning, understand it. Understand what is the function of each and every part, so that if they switch the question around, you guys do not get confused. So once you know that the function of vegetative cell is to provide the nourishment for initial pollen tube growth. If I remove the vegetative cell, it will not have any effect on pollination, because pollination wind se hota hai, wind does not care whether there is vegetative cell or not, right? So what is going to happen? Initial pollen tube growth will not take place. Okay, let's move forward then. Now, in the ovary, the growth of the pollen tube is directed by another tissue called obturator. So ovary contains a tissue which is known as obturator, and obturator is responsible for growth of the pollen tube. Growth of the pollen tube. Okay, याद रखना, filiform apparatus guides the pollen tube. Obturator tissue helps in growth of the pollen tube in the ovary. So initially, the pollen tube growth depends on the vegetative cell. Then it depends on the cells of the stigma and style. And once it reaches the ovary, then its growth is dependent on another tissue known as obturator tissue. So remember that at different stages, it derives nourishment from different places of the plant body. Initially, just from the vegetative cell, then from the style region, then from the cells of the style. Once it reaches the ovary, then from a special tissue known as obturator tissue. Then from a special tissue known as obturator tissue. Okay? Now, the pollen tube enters the ovule either through it. So, pollen tube can enter the ovule in 3 different ways. It can enter through micropyle, which is known as progamy. Example is lily. It can enter through chalazal end also. As you can see here, it is entering through chalaza, and that is known as chalazogamy. Examples are given there. And then it can enter through the side also by tearing through the integuments. If you look at it here, it is tearing through the integuments and entering from the side, and that is known as mesogamy. That is known as mesogamy. Examples are given. Most common is progamy, that is entry through the micropyle. In your textbook, they have only mentioned micropyle. Okay, Ranjita will explain again, do not mind. So, pollen tube, ekdam starting se start karta hai. Pollen grain land kiya, it utilized the food material in the vegetative cell to grow to some length. Then it will utilize the nourishment from the stigma and style cells to grow further. Once it reaches the ovary, it will derive nourishment from obturator. It will derive nourishment from obturator tissue. It will derive nourishment from obturator tissue. Okay? Once it has reached the ovary, now it can enter the ovule. It can enter the ovule either through micropyle, which is the most common, which is known as progamy, or through chalaza, that is the end opposite to the micropyle. Okay, which is beta, it is progamy. It is progamy. It is porogamy. It is porogamy. Okay. So then to the chalaza, so it is known as chalazogamy. Or it can rip through the integuments and enter from the side, and that is known as mesogamy. And that is known as mesogamy. So what are the 3 types of gamy you have? Porogamy, chalazogamy, and your mesogamy. Okay. So your porogamy is the most common one. Your porogamy is the most common one. That is entry through the micropyle, and that is what is mentioned in your textbook, that generally the pollen tube enters through the micropyle, and that is known as what? That is known as porogamy. Okay, chalazogamy and mesogamy is not important from board's point of view. They are not important from board's point of view, but if you are someone who wants to do NEET, then yes, all the three names you have to remember. Porogamy, entry through the micropyle. Ekdam sabya आदमी की तरह, he will enter through the gate. He will enter through the front gate. Chalazogamy is like a thief, he will enter from the back. Like a thief, he will enter from the back door. Okay, or someone who's trying to sneak in. And what is mesogamy? What is mesogamy? He does not have key to the front door or to the back door, so he will just he will just break a window and enter. That is what mesogamy is. That is how you can remember it, right? So porogamy, you have the key to the front door. Okay, chalazogamy, you do not have the key to the front door, but you have key to the back door, so you can use the back door to enter. When you do not have key to the front door or key to the back door, then you will break one of the windows and try to enter your house, which is known as mesogamy. Okay, सबको clear हुआ बेटा? Give me a yes or no. Is this clear to everybody? Give me a yes or no बेटा, so that I can move forward. Shall I move forward then? आगे बढ़े फिर? चलो. Now it has entered. Now it has entered the ovule. Now what will happen moving forward? In the ovule, the pollen tube is attracted by the secretions of synergids. Doesn't matter where it enters from, it will always go towards the micropylar end where your synergids and egg are. So even if you look at here, even if it is entering through chalaza or through the integuments, it is always going to the micropylar end, because at the micropylar end there is synergids which contain filiform apparatus. So they attract it. Okay, and also at the micropylar end there is egg. So it doesn't matter where it enters from, whether it enters from your micropyle or from your chalaza or from your integuments, it will always go to the micropylar end. It will always go to the micropylar end. Now, out of the two male gametes, one fuses with egg or oosphere. याद रख लेना. What is another name of egg? The another name of egg is oosphere. To perform generative fertilization. Generative fertilization is also known as syngamy or true fertilization. What happens is one of the male gamete fuses with the egg or the oosphere. Fuses with the egg or the oosphere, and this is known as generative fertilization or syngamy or true fertilization. Remember all the three names: generative fertilization, syngamy, or true fertilization. And what does syngamy give rise to? Syngamy gives rise to a diploid zygote. Diploid zygote. Okay, syngamy gives rise to a diploid zygote. Okay, so remember this. That the syngamy gives rise to a diploid zygote. So the first male gamete fuses with the egg. The first male gamete fuses with the egg, and that is known as generative fertilization. बेटा कुछ नहीं हो रहा किशोर. What is happening is male gamete आया, egg के साथ fuse किया. There is egg present. Egg is always present at the micropylar end. So male gamete will come attracted by the synergids, and it will fuse with your egg, and that is known as generative fertilization or true fertilization or syngamy. And the generative or true fertilization is known as, okay, give rise to zygote. How are there two male gametes? Hi Ram. Beta, how are there two male gametes? Bhul gaye kya? That the generative cell, when it is in two cell stage, the generative cell gives rise to two male gametes. I told you that when the pollen grain lands on the stigma, the generative cell divides and gives rise to two male gametes as the pollen tube is growing. Yaad aaya? That is why there are two male gametes. Right? That the generative cell in the pollen grain gives rise to two male gametes. Okay? So the first male gamete fuses with the egg and gives rise to zygote. This is known as true fertilization, generative fertilization, or syngamy. Let's move forward then. The nucleus of what happens to the second male gamete? What happens to the second male gamete? The nucleus of the second male gamete fuses with the two haploid polar nuclei. Yaad hai? So embryo sac is 8 nuclei but 7 cell. So there are two nuclei in the middle which are known as polar nuclei. There are two nuclei in the middle which are polar nuclei. So these are your polar nuclei. right? So that is where the second male gamete goes. The first male gamete goes to the egg. The second male gamete goes to the polar nuclei. Okay, so the nucleus of the second male gamete fuses with the two haploid polar nuclei to form a triploid primary endosperm nucleus. So what will happen is that the polar nuclei, the two polar nuclei get fused with the second male gamete, and you get what? You get a primary endosperm nucleus. Primary endosperm nucleus, which is triploid. Why it is triploid? It is triploid because three nucleus are fusing together. So it is triploid. Okay. The central cell is now called primary endosperm cell. So this is your primary endosperm cell. The polar nuclei got fused with your male gamete and gives rise to primary endosperm nucleus, and the central cell is now called primary endosperm cell. The second fertilization is called vegetative fertilization. As consequence of it, a vegetative or nutritive tissue is formed to nourish the embryo. Now, the second fertilization is called vegetative fertilization because this gives rise to a tissue which is used for nourishment of the growing zygote. Okay, I will repeat. Anurag, why is it triploid? Dekho beta, because at the center of the embryo sac there are two polar nuclei. Both of them are haploid, N and N. Now will come your male gamete, which is also haploid. Now will come your male gamete, which is also haploid, So when 3N will fuse together, what will you end up with, beta? You'll end up with 3N. 3N is what? 3N is triploid. That is why it is triploid. Okay, because these three cells fuse together to give rise to a triploid nucleus, which is known as primary endosperm nucleus. And this cell is known as primary endosperm cell. And this second fertilization is known as vegetative fertilization. This second fertilization is known as vegetative fertilization because it gives rise to a tissue which will serve the function of nourishing the growing zygote. Is the second fertilization clear to everybody? Give me a yes or no, beta. Is the second fertilization clear to everybody? First fertilization is fusion of the male gamete to the egg. Zygote ban gaya. Second is fusion of the male gamete to the polar nuclei, which gives rise to a triploid primary endosperm nucleus, which is present in the triploid primary endosperm cell. Okay. So this is also known as triple fusion. As Spurti has pointed out, because three nuclei are fusing together. Now, vegetative fertilization is also called triple fusion since three nuclei get fused, two polar nuclei and one male gamete. Two polar nuclei and one male gamete. As you can see in this figure, one male gamete will go to your egg, another male gamete will go to your primary polar nuclei, and those three will form endosperm, and this will form a zygote. Okay. So in angiosperms or flowering plants, two acts of fertilization occur in the same embryo sac. So within the same embryo sac, as you can see, this is one embryo sac. So within the same embryo sac, two fertilization are taking place. One generative, which gives rise to zygote. One vegetative, which gives rise to endosperm. And this phenomena is known as double fertilization because two fertilization are taking place within the same embryo sac. And this entire process is known as double fertilization. Do not get confused between double fertilization and triple fusion. Triple fusion only concerns endosperm, where fusion of three nuclei take place. Double fertilization is two fertilization, one generative, one vegetative, within the same embryo sac, and that is known as your double fertilization. Anurag, kuch nahi hai beta. Ye dekho, this is your female gametophyte. Usko zoom in kiya. Male gametes have reached there. This is your egg. These are your polar nuclei. One male gamete will fuse with the egg to give rise to zygote. One male gamete will fuse with the polar nuclei and you will get an endosperm. Since two fusion are taking place, one fusion is taking place here, one fusion is taking place here. What do you have? This is known as double fertilization. This is known as double fertilization. This is known as what? This is known as double fertilization. सबको clear हुआ बेटा? Give me a yes or no. Is this clear everybody? Give me a yes or no बेटा. आगे बढ़े फिर. चलो, let's move forward then. Now, double fertilization is what? So this is a definition important from your board's point of view. Double fertilization is the fusion of two male gametes brought by a pollen tube to two different cells of same female gametophyte in order to produce two different structures. So what are the two different structures? The two different structures is, first is zygote and the second one is endosperm. So if anybody asks you, beta, define double fertilization. If this question comes in your board exam, what are you guys going to write? You guys are going to write that it is the fusion of two male gametes brought by a pollen tube to two different cells of the same female gametophyte in order to produce two different structures. Double fertilization is a characteristic of angiosperms. It takes place in angiosperms. Okay? It is found only in angiosperms, where it was first discovered by Noachian in 1898 in these two. So it was first discovered by Noachian in 1898. In 1898, it was first discovered by Noachian in 1898, and it is only found in angiosperms. So is double fertilization clear, everybody? Beta, give me a yes or no. Is the double fertilization clear, everybody? Give me a yes or no. सबको समझा? ठीक है. Yes, you have to write the same definition. चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. So post fertilization events. Now, soon after pollination, the flower begins to fade. Why does it begins to fade? Because it no longer needs to serve its purpose. What is the function of sepals, petals, and all that? To attract the pollinators. Pollination ho gaya, fertilization ho gaya. They are not needed anymore. But what was the last point? The last point I was saying bola, double fertilization happens in angiosperms and it was discovered by Noachian. Ritesh yaad karna, ek naam hi to hai. Okay, so once the fertilization has taken place, once the pollination has taken place, then the flowers begin to fade. It is sometimes accompanied by sudden increase in respiration and ethylene production. So sometimes there is sudden increase in respiration and ethylene production. What is the function of ethylene in plants here? What is the function of ethylene in plants? Jaldi se bata do. What is the function of ethylene in plants? Okay, Dhanush has raised his hand. Yes, Dhanush.
Increases the rate of respiration, sir.
Ethylene increases the rate of respiration. Okay, and what is its common function? Like, why do we use ethylene, or what is the use of ethylene in plants?
Sir, if it is not ripened, it helps in ripening of fruits.
It helps in ripening of the fruits, right? So in certain cases, post fertilization, after fertilization, there is increase in respiration and ethylene production also is seen. Petals, stamen, and style wither away. Obviously, their function is done. Petals' job is to attract the pollinators. Stamen's job is to release the pollen grain, jo release ho gaya. Style's job is to, or stigma's job is to receive the pollen grain, wo bhi ho gaya. So once fertilization has happened, then what happens is petals, stamen, and style wither away because they are no longer needed. Okay. So today I'll stop here because endosperm is a one big topic which I want to do it together. So today I'll stop the class here. Okay. So just give me a quick feedback before you guys run off here. Okay. If you have any doubts, can always stay back. So as always, it was a pleasure teaching you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's class. So most probably in 3 to 4 lectures, I will finish off this chapter. Okay, Anurag, I can extend the class, but beta, if I want to finish off endosperm, so class beta 1:15 tak hit jayega, which I don't want to do, right? So I'll start tomorrow with endosperm. Okay, chalo. So Kirtan, I will. Okay, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you very much for your patience. I really appreciate it. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can stay back. Otherwise, stay safe, stay home, take care. Bye bye, guys.